Now at 5, NBC3 live at the intersection of Oakwood Avenue and Martin Luther King East in Syracuse, a spot where less than 24 hours ago an 11-year-old girl was shot and killed, returning home with a gallon of milk for her family. Good evening, everyone. I'm Megan Coleman. Welcome to NBC3 News at 5. Matt is live at the scene of last night's shooting. We'll go live to him in just a moment. On a day of remembrance for Martin Luther King Jr., the street and school in Syracuse, which both bear his name, merely a backdrop for a crime that's shaken a community. Police say at 7:45 last night, 11-year-old Brexiali Torres Ortiz was shot walking down the street, carrying a gallon of milk in her hand that you can see now lays on the sidewalk. Officers say shots came from an SUV that pulled up to the intersection. Those shots hit Ortiz in the midsection. Officers performed CPR, trying desperately to save her. She was rushed to Upstate University Hospital, where she later died. Police say she was near a 19-year-old who they say was the likely target of the drive-by shooting. He was hit in the leg and is expected to survive. Brexy was a 5th grader at Syracuse STEM at Blodgett Middle School in the High Honors program. She was class president. Her school principal says she always looked out for her classmates, a young girl with an infectious smile who loved to dance. Tonight, we have live team coverage nearly 24 hours after the senseless crime. Our Mary Keeler and Allure Lagarde and Dale Ostrander spent today in this community documenting the reaction that's still very raw and asking the questions that for so long in this city need answers. Right now, we head out to the community where this tragedy happened, separated from Syracuse University by just the walk of mere minutes. Matt Mulcahy is just steps away from the intersection where the shooting happened nearly 24 hours ago. Matt?
Well, Megan, twilight is settling in here at Martin Luther King East in Oakwood, and let me set the stage for you. As you just mentioned, I could see the Carrier Dome. The lights have just come on as darkness now sets in. Over my left shoulder, Dr. Martin Luther King School. To my right, that convenience store where Brexy went inside to get that $5 gallon of milk last night. And then just about 100 yards away, over my right shoulder, is her home in Central Village, where she lived with her family until that shooting, and she was murdered last night. Now, the scene last night was moving very quickly as investigators did everything they could to save her life and also save the life of the 19-year-old who was also shot. And in fact, the police told us today that there is plenty of video of what happened from both the convenience store and cameras that are on the utility poles right next to where I'm standing tonight. Late this afternoon, Mayor Ben Walsh talked about this terrible tragedy for the city of Syracuse.
That little girl did nothing wrong. She walks down the block to get milk for her family. She did nothing wrong. And now we've lost her. I can't help but to continue to think about Brexiali's classmates that went to Blodgett today expecting to see their friend. Again, an exceptional young lady, and they didn't see her. I have been in regular touch with Superintendent Davis. I spoke with him last night. He was already mobilizing his staff, his crisis response team, to be on site.
Now, Brexiali's administrators, the principal from Blodgett School, have come here to visit, along with several teachers that knew her so well and remember her so fondly tonight, and sadly, many tears shed and hugs shared. Our Mary Keeler's been experiencing this story herself and has been following the investigation, what the police are looking for in terms of information and perhaps some help from the public, Mary.
Yeah, and we know that there was a massive effort by at least 3 Syracuse police officers last night on this scene, just a bit from where we were standing. They did CPR, those efforts unsuccessful on 11-year-old Brexy, but we know that a memorial is growing tonight. A vigil is growing behind us for this 11-year-old girl. And we know it's filled with flowers and stuffed animals. And Syracuse police say she was on her way home, as we mentioned, from the corner store that's right across the street from us last night when she was shot. But it's unclear right now who did the shooting. Shots were fired from a moving car, and police think that more than one person besides that driver in the car was in there, and they are reviewing camera footage from the housing nearby and the store. We also know a 19-year-old male was also shot. Police say they don't know for sure if he was the intended target of this gunfire, and they don't think right now he knew the 11-year-old girl at all. He's still in the hospital tonight, and we are still waiting to hear more details about that. He was taken in a private vehicle, police say, but police really right now pleading to anyone in the community that knows something to come forward with a tip.
And if I get a little testy here, it's because I am upset by this one. She's walking home from getting milk, coming home for milk for her family, and she gets shot. So I would like to see some tips come in that are anonymous. I don't care how they come in.
Is the city at the point where a mom or dad has to worry about their child being safe when going that short distance to get a gallon of milk?
Yeah, I think anyone that is a mom or dad never stops thinking about the safety of their children. Depending on where you live in this community, some people feel safer than others, but I've said from the beginning that my job will not be done until everyone feels safe in this city, no matter where they are.
One detail, Matt, that continues to stick with me, and it's something that people are hanging on to as well. This happened right by Dr. King Elementary on the holiday that celebrates Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy, his humanity, and the first responders, police chief, mayor, all really highlighting the fact that this little girl, Brexie, will be remembered for her own legacy of humanity for others.
Yes, and also of interest, she's from a Spanish-speaking family. Spoke some Spanish with the convenience store workers last night when she bought that gallon of milk. She seems to be an absolutely incredible girl, and such a grave loss for this community to lose somebody really just getting into the prime of her life. Thank you, Mary Keeler. Now, this area, as Mary mentioned, is the home of Dr. King's school. At one point, this street was called Castle Street, so it was renamed about 25 years ago. But let me tell you about the poverty that's in this neighborhood, in this area of Syracuse. It's in an area that is really one of the worst ratings for poverty in the entire United States. And the family of Brexiali Torres Ortiz lived under the poverty line in that public housing. The family income level to live in that public housing is less than $40,000 a year if you have a family of four. Now, the most easily accessible source of groceries was that corner store she visited just before being shot. The easiest way to get there was walking about 70 yards down the street. Now a community is grappling with how these facts all led up to this young girl's death, this life that she was living in. Now, the Syracuse City School District Superintendent did put out a statement today, Anthony Davis, calling this a senseless act of violence that ruins lives and saying the community can't become numb to it. Superintendent Davis also calling on the community to come together to address the root causes of violence and to serve as examples for the next generations to guide them away from violence. We asked the superintendent what specifically he's doing today to address those root causes. We're waiting on his response, but we do know that he's been in constant contact with the chief of police, the mayor of the city of Syracuse, and even was seen here visiting with the family and the demonstrators tonight. Now, our Dale Ostrander was on the scene during the day today, gathering what really was an emotional story for people who were just coming, Dale, to visit and pay their respects.
Yeah, Matt, very emotional here today. We were out here all morning, and a lot of people were very concerned with everything that happened last night. And, you know, when children returned to Dr. Martin Luther King Elementary, the corner store over there where she bought that milk was empty, and it was that store where Brexiali Torres Ortiz bought that milk just before she started her walk home. Tyrone Mulligan was driving by around the same time. Moments later, he heard the gunshots.
I drove right through, but something said go around the block again. When I went to come back around the block again, there was so many police cars coming. I waited. Then I drove through, and as I drove through, I realized the extent of what had happened. I went home, and next thing I know, it's 11-year-old. 11-year-old? Can't be. I just drove, no. And then they said she died.
Mulligan spent Tuesday in the area as a member of the OGs Against Violence. He tells me he's been unable to sleep.
What's on my mind is the Census Act. I got grandkids. I got kids that are grown. I've never taught my kids to come out here to kill no one else's kid, and especially an 11-year-old. My heart solely goes out to the family, and I'm hurt. I'm hurt from the bottom of my heart because this is so sad. You know, who knows what she could have been? Doctor, lawyer, professional sports player, someone really important, and you took her life out of here for no reason at all. And right now, to whoever it may concern, to the whole lot of you, you need to be taken off the streets and put in jail. Honestly, you need to go to jail. And I am dying for the day. I'm dying for the day. Just take them away. Get them off the streets. This is senseless right here. She should have never died.
Now back to the corner store that was right over there. The clerk told me this morning, the owner's cousin was the clerk this morning, as the owner could not sleep last night, and he said to me that the girl would buy household items just like many children in the area, and that her last words to the store owner last night were, "Thank you, Pappy."
Yeah, it's beautiful, and it speaks to her Puerto Rican heritage, who she was, and how she was so polite in thanking them for that simple purchase of that gallon of milk. Little did she or anyone know that would be the last thing she would do. Thank you. We appreciate that, Dale. You know, there were demonstrators out in the streets of Syracuse today making a statement about what happened last night.
What's her name? Personally Torah! Say her name! Personally Torah!
They marched all the way to Oakwood Avenue, next to Dr. King's school, near the intersection where we're standing here tonight. And they continue to hold a vigil there, just behind where we're coming to you live right now, including balloons, flowers, remembrances of Brexy here tonight. Our little guard has been talking to those demonstrators. And what did you find? What was on their mind? Obviously very sad.
It's a really sad day, Matt. Even during the march, I had a chance to walk along with the march and talk to those community members who were part of it, and they are sad and they are angry about the death of this 11-year-old who was only 100 yards away from her home when she was just holding a carton of milk, and she was shot and she was killed. Now, neighbors in the community say that they are tired hearing about the endless amount of young children who are being killed due to gun violence in the community. Alfonso Davis has a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old who also goes to that exact market. He's in disbelief and mourns for the family. He says the shootings need to stop, and to do that, people need to speak up about who the shooter is.
It's heartbreaking. It's disappointing, but it is up to Syracuse residents, the people in this city, to do better. We have to do better, and we do better by identifying those who are shooters in our communities.
Now, Matt, going back into it, the community says that nobody should be burying their child, and there is nothing, quote, gangster about shedding blood on your street, and that this gun violence needs to stop, adding it's time to put the guns down.
And still no arrest tonight.
Still no arrest. And Matt, being over there, hearing the tears, the emotions were so contagious. People are so sad right now,
Yeah.
and it's so understandable.
Yes, and on the other hand, many people here say some of the actions like this happen here every day, but not an 11-year-old girl
Not an 11-year-old
being
girl.
shot and killed. So, Allura, thank you for bringing that perspective tonight. We already mentioned the school superintendent sending words out to the community tonight that he's doing what he can to support the family and also the children at Blodgett School. We have a lot more to tell you about here tonight, but Megan, as Allura just mentioned, the feelings are palpable here on the scene. Our live coverage will continue over the next 90 minutes or so.
Incredibly heavy hearts out there. Matt, we'll get back to you in just a moment. We do want to bring you live pictures right now from the vigil, which is now underway for Brexy Lee Torres Ortiz. You can see candles and balloons, people gathering right now to honor her life. This is all taking place right near the scene of last night's shooting, not far from where Matt and our team of reporters have been standing. This is a very painful day for this community. We will have much more coverage live from the vigil as we hear from those who knew and loved Brexy coming up. Well, the murder of Brexy Lee Torres Ortiz is not the first instance of children being victims of gun violence in the city of Syracuse. Coming up, remembering young lives lost as violent crime continues to devastate our community.